2. It occurs to me that I just started season 3 by hitting record before I finished the countdown. So apologies if you caught the end of my 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to season 3 of the Unqualified Film Bros podcast. Max, George, Ben, and Declan makes his glorious return.
Mm-hmm. Hello,
What's going
everyone.
on, guys? How's the last couple of weeks? We were off last week. How's the last couple of weeks been for you?
Mm.
Tired.
Trying to keep on top of things, which I clearly failed to do for the past couple of weeks. but hey, you got to
Hey
make time
man, hey
for
man,
friend
we're
of the
we're
podcast,
back. That's
Martin
all that
Scorsese.
matters. Season
We are
3,
back.
we're kicking it off.
We are
Mm.
back. We are getting Doug back. Name that movie.
Up.
Come on. Come on. The Hangover. Jesus Christ.
Uh,
All right. Season 3. Wow, what a start. We are back to talk about, I believe, don't quote me on this, quote me on it, the longest
That's
film
correct.
we have ever talked about
mm.
at 3 hours and 26 minutes long. It feels about half an hour shorter than Eternals. Killers of the Flower Moon.
45 minutes shorter than Elvis.
That's not an understatement. Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone, with Jesse Plemons and Brendan Fraser in a couple of supporting roles. Gentlemen, for the first time in season 3, what'd you guys think?
So, the movie that was kept popping up in my mind as even though they're not directly similar, the film that I kept thinking of was actually Schindler's List. In that it's a very compelling movie, but also what's being shown to you is horrible and gut wrenching and so it's all that to say is this film is fantastic. It's great. Highly recommend it. But also it was deeply it was it was at times hard to watch, in a this subject matter is incredibly heavy sort of way, not in a this film is bad sort of way. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a great way to describe it. I mean, I'm skipping all the way to the end,
Mm.
and I won't say too much about it, but the epilogue, sort
Mm.
of done in a way that was trivializing, and using for entertainment. Like that was a brilliant way, I
Mm.
think, to lay out the events of what happened after the film instead of, title cards, like black screens
Mm.
and cards just kind of saying it in words. It
Mm.
was far more impactful. George, I know you had a less than ideal experience during that.
Oh,
My
I'll
God.
talk about mine just quickly. Like there were 5 other people. I saw it really late. I saw it at 9 p.m. last night, so I didn't get out until 1. But there were 5 other people in the theater. Not a single person moved until the end of the credits.
mm.
I'm so jealous. I was in a packed crowd at noon on a Tuesday. I was,
Well, man, noon on a Tuesday, man.
yeah, I was probably the second youngest person in the room,
Mm.
probably by a good 15, 20 years at least.
Mm.
But there were so many people who, especially when Marty got up for his cameo right at the end to finish the descriptions of what happened next, there were people like in my row going like, "Oh, what did he say? Did he say this? Yes, he did say that. Oh, okay, that's what I thought he said."
Mm.
And it's like I'm not gonna go to a theater to sit through this 3.5 hour movie again just for that scene.
Mm.
But like you sat through 3 hours and 21 minutes of this movie. You can't stay silent for another five.
Were any of the people saying, "Hey, that's Martin Scorsese. He's the director of the movie.
No,
Wow!"
Declan, only you
I
did that.
guarantee you, none of those people knew that was Martin Scorsese.
Nobody. Well, that's not true. He.
Okay.
So I saw it at a Cinemark near my house, and we had a like message. Thank you for seeing this in a movie theater. This story is
Oh
really
yeah,
personal
that's
to
true.
me
I
from
We did have
Marty
that too.
himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh, so yeah, it was the ending of my experience was less than ideal, but
Mhm.
I mean, it's not necessarily your typical packed house popcorn movie.
Yeah.
You get the crowd reactions.
Mhm.
There were some gasps throughout. I think you guys know sort of which moments those might have been, and we'll get into that. But yeah, Max, you and I definitely had opposite experiences, particularly when it came to the last 10 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Benji, how about you? What'd you think?
my crowd was fine. They were noticeable, which is
Mhm.
what I want, kind of. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot to discuss in this movie. I mean, the framing is kind of interesting. I heard that it was supposed to originally be about more of the FBI
Mhm.
investigation, and they changed it.
I
And
think that's what the book is more about. The book
yeah,
follows the FBI more. Yeah.
Mhm.
Con alum, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. Our all of our alma maters is also the author's alma mater as well.
yeah,
Roll Hunks, go Camels.
the subtitle is literally the beginning of the FBI.
Yeah.
So I kind of expected that, but I really enjoyed that he sort of changed it. It's a lot more of a personal story
Mhm.
to the Osage, to that whole series of events, rather than it being the reason for the founding of the FBI. The FBI is just sort of in the background.
Mhm.
I feel like if you actually chose to do the investigation, it would probably, push out the actual Osage people. Uh,
Mhm.
and I thought it was pretty smart. It's very much of his sort of way of storytelling, because he's given all these movies, gangster movies, really terrible protagonists. Like the people themselves are pretty awful people. So it makes sense that he sort of culminates that in one of his probably last films.
Mhm.
This is one of the worst protagonists we've ever had in terms of
Mhm.
a person. Um, he frames a lot of like people, even in Goodfellas with Henry Hill, like being having some parts of them that are empathetic, that you can sort of sympathize with them.
Mhm.
Uh, but in in Ernest, and certainly in William King,
Oh,
they
uh,
are they're just as bad as they come, and it's amazing because he doesn't really give you a lot of show of that. Like he shows what they do and stuff, but there's
mhm.
less of a reaction than you would expect for all these horrible murders, and the way that they casually talk about it. Um, I guess sort of echoes, the sentiments of a lot of people when they probably saw the murders and are like, oh, it's whatever, it happens.
Mhm. I do feel like De Niro's performance here is chilling in like like how like the depiction of evil is, again, it's like I think it's so well done that it's like it like at times gets like viscerally like, oh my gosh, he's talking about like like the direct active murder of people, and like just being so casual about it. It's like it's like the realness of that like ideology combined with like the bluntness of it is like, yeah, it's like it's something else, I feel like.
I'm gonna be
I,
the
I
bad
mean,
guy here,
okay.
and don't hate me, but it's for the purpose of discussion.
Mm,
Um, of the three leads, you know, I said this with Kiwi Kwan last year. I'll
mm,
say it about Lily Gladstone this year. She is going to walk to the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. And
mm,
once again, I will come back and have our well-paid editor clip that
mm.
moment for our Oscar prediction episode.
Oh
the
boy.
only
Anyway,
the only the
anyway,
only
to
thing
my
I'm wondering
point, To my point, um, Robert De Niro, I love him. He gives a great performance. I don't see anything new from him. He
That's fair.
doesn't push himself, and I'm surprised Marty doesn't push him any further than he's ever gone before. There's nothing truly spectacular in the way that this is one of the finest performances of Leonardo DiCaprio's career, and certainly the best performance I've seen from Lily Gladstone, where Robert De Niro is fantastic. He's just Robert De Niro. And it feels crazy to say just Robert De Niro, considering he's one of the best actors of all time. But at the same time, I I wanted more from him.
I don't think that's necessarily incorrect, but I also think that part of that makes it for me at least, a fascinating performance because it is a little bit understated in the sense that like this kind of hatred and just violence towards indigenous people, towards the Osage people was so ingrained. It was just so easy to do that he didn't have to like go over the top. He didn't have to do too much.
No,
It
it was
was
an
just
understated villainy.
it was part of who he was. It was like a core piece of his being was to be this friendly face, this financial support to the Osage people and especially to Molly and her family. Um, and yet you have the other side of the coin being him orchestrating the gruesome and horrifying murders of the Osage people that we see in this film. And that makes it all, at least to me, all the more sinister.
Yeah, and I think that you hit on something, which is that I don't think he should be acting it up too much, because I think the euphemisms, like we were talking about, the way that they talk about it, it all works with the framing of the film, which is that you can go a little bit into it and they sort of reveal more and more about all of the horrible things going on. Like you have an idea, obviously, going in with the precursor montage of all the murders, but it sort of reveals itself over time. Like when Byron goes, I'm going to take Anna home now. It's like you get this sort of feeling, and then she shows up dead, and it's like, how much does Ernest know? Because it's from his perspective, and then you obviously see him like rob people, and it shows more and more their character flaws. And with Hale, I think it's an interesting thing that they don't really show that too much because it's sort of a lot from the perspective of Ernest. And to him, he really believes in this guy. And I think it works the story's benefit to have everyone believe in this guy. Like, it's not just friendly to, the natives and like he speaks their language, he manipulates them with all of his kindness, essentially, and faux support of their people. Similarly, he does the same thing to his own nephew with, Ernest. Like he wants him to call him king. He basically, from day one, wants him to, find some woman so that he can marry, so that he can eventually probably be killed off by King Hale, so that he can inherit the rights. You really get a sense that he doesn't actually care for anybody, but it works to the movie's benefit to portray like he is, because why else would these people really believe him? I mean, they're dumb people, as they sort of establish, but you still have to.
Ernest just
Yeah. I mean,
Ernest is like, I know this is like some, like, has some like discussion kind of among people. I do kind of like in a it makes the film more fascinating sort of way how they sort of like depict Ernest as like still sort of being in love with Molly, but like also actively like killing her. Like it's a like perverse thing that I do think it adds to the film. Like it's not just like a
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's a fascinating story there, and I think it's like a
mm-hmm.
perverted sort of like, I don't want to say love triangle, but
Mm,
allegiance to Hale versus
mm,
his love to his wife.
mm,
Mhm.
So he knows he's basically poisoned her. I mean, he's dumb, but he's not that dumb.
mm, mm,
I think the thing that's really interesting is he really has no shame over killing other Osage people, and you see it in the trial, and you see it like really afterwards when she has him say, "Is that everything? Is that the truth?"
mm,
And he says, "Yeah, that's everything."
mm.
She asks him about the insulin. It's like, "What was in those vials?" And he's like, "It's just insulin." You can tell it's because he's shameful of it. He's guilt ridden that he did try to kill her, but
And then immediately after that, you get the jail scene where he calls him Bill, not
yeah,
King, not
Mm.
Sir, Bill.
yep,
Yeah. I will say that this, I like it. There is, I feel like there's at least some relief, even if it's like an incomplete relief, but like from the viewer's perspective, there's at least something where the FBI comes in and like at least puts them to trial, like after so much like just unambiguous brutality and violence. It is nice to at least see like some degree of justice, even though again the epilogue kind of shows it's incomplete to say the least. I at least somewhat appreciate that about the film, and that it doesn't feel like just like the most like horror, like just horrificness for the sake of horrificness,
Like Blonde.
something like that. Yeah, yeah, a little bit.
well,
Yeah.
it's kind of an
We talked
interesting thing.
about.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, like, when Jesse Plemons shows up,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like this is a really clandestine, operation. People being murdered all the time, and
Mm.
it really shows like the situation when he shows up to Ernest's house, and he's like, "Yeah, we're here from the Bureau of Investigation, about the murders," and he's like, "See what about them?" It's like, "We'll see who's doing them." Obviously, like, what else?
Well,
Who else?
The bureaus come to help. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, oh wait, we've never tried to solve those. We know.
No one solves them. They're just supposed to like
Yeah, no,
happen.
no. One guy's a melancholic, and he killed himself in the back of the head.
I I had just gotten the life insurance policy out on him. Simple thing, no big deal.
and then
but
and then there was
Ben,
the fire insurance.
Mr. Insurance Man.
Yeah. Yep.
you bring up the that particular piece of dialogue, to see about these murders, to see what about them, to see who's been doing them. That line's in the trailer, which I know, we saw a bunch of times going to the movies every week. Um, but we've talked about in previous episodes what trailers indicate vis-a-vis narrative for the film. And Declan, earlier you brought up, you or Ben, one of you two, brought up the difference in the portrayal of the FBI investigation in the film versus the book.
That
And
was
I have
me.
not read the book, but from the trailer, at least I got the sense that the investigation would be a much more significant component of the film. Jesse Plemons doesn't show up until the third act, practically.
Mhm.
And it's really more about, Ben, like you said earlier, the personal story of Ernest and Hale and Molly and, her family and the Osage people for the first, I would say, north of 2 hours in this film.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then, you know, you actually get into the meat of the plot because it's really, you know, the first 2 acts are world building with some narrative.
Mhm.
This film is the textbook definition of a slow burn.
Mhm.
And then we get into sort of the meat and potatoes of the film when the FBI shows up and we actually start getting into the, I guess what we would come to expect from the third act of a Scorsese crime film, as we've seen in countless other films that he's put together.
Mm.
But you know, I can't say I wanted more of the FBI side of this once I was into the film. I think going in, I might have said, I want to see how the FBI approaches this. But
I feel like it just turned it into much more of like a blockbuster sort of entertainment thing instead of the
Mm.
emotional.
exactly, that's exactly what it would have done. And I am more than satisfied with the result we get from the more personal approach and
Mm.
something more, like you said, Ben, emotional.
But it does like it's funny because it really does fit a lot of the like ways that Scorsese's done his gangster movies before, certainly like Goodfellas. It's very similar in some ways to Henry Hill,
Mm.
in that that was based on a true story too, I believe.
It is.
Yes, yes.
Uh, and he goes into witness protection. He ends up, going against the guy that like basically raised him. It's an interesting sort of, just sort of taking that and moving it over. But when people die in these gangster movies, it's not like they deserve it a lot of time, but you feel a sense of, well, they're in that business.
Mm.
They're normally in shady circumstances. None of them are good people, so you
There's
don't
none of that here.
feel that bad. And then
Mm.
this is just, I mean, these are just
Mm.
brutal murders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's like it's done entirely because of like who like because of the identities of the people. There's like no other reason for it. I mean, it's to get the money.
What is their name? Osage? Lucky people? Is that what it said in the beginning?
Touched by fate or no, touched by fortune, something like that. Yeah,
It was the chosen people of chance.
that's
Mhm.
it. That's
People
it.
chance. All right, so same idea. But yeah, like it's literally their chance that gives them all this money.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a great, opening scene to see everybody dancing in the oil. Uh,
Mhm.
but then you sort of
That's a
realize,
that's a trailer moment. I'm sorry. It's a great scene,
Mhm.
but it's such a trailer moment.
I
no,
can't
I,
use
I
it.
honestly, I really love the idea of it because it starts out like it's, like you said, a trailer moment. It's happy, right?
Mhm.
Because they've just found all this oil. But I think it's also kind of symbolic that they're dancing in it. They're literally getting dirty in the oil. So yeah,
Mhm.
they're rich, but it's blood, on their hands.
There will be blood.
There will be blood, guys. That's another
That's such a
movie.
reach, guys. Come on, you're better than that.
Like,
I,
I don't think that crazy. I mean, Scorsese's not one to compromise. Like
Hmm.
he literally changed the story on the studio, and they said, "Well, we weren't going to sign off on this. We were going to sign off on the FBI tale. I don't want to sign off on this." And he made
Hmm.
them do it anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't think that he would put something in the movie if he didn't want it there.
No, everything in this film, and one of the things that impressed me most about its 3 hour, 26 minute runtime, that I didn't love The Irishman,
Hmm.
which I'm pretty sure was his last film before this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
The
The
Irishman was
Irishman.
3.5 hours, and it dragged for big portions of the movie.
Yeah, I
Like
didn't dislike it.
I liked it. It wasn't his greatest work.
Hmm.
And
Yeah. That's
what we get
Actually,
here
he's really good now.
is 3 hours and 26 minutes of meticulous planning on the part of Martin Scorsese and something really, really deliberate. Every shot, every scene, every piece of dialogue, every cut, when they're in the third act, when they're going through the investigation and it cuts back to the murder in the woods, every instance that is portrayed in this film is so meticulously placed that there is, you know, you've got a 200 plus minute movie, and yet there are no moments where you stop to breathe.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
so it is brilliantly paced, and it's so well put together that you don't feel like you're sitting through a 3.5 hour movie. It once you walk out of the theater, you're like, yeah, that felt like I was sitting on that chair. I'm gonna have back problems tonight from sitting in that chair for 4 hours. But
Yeah.
this film is one of the most well put together films we've talked about over the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, who knew that like one of the greatest living directors of our time would like have a well together film, you know? Who could have guessed?
But I mean, it's not just that though, right? It's the unrelenting pressure and tension of everything that we know that's going to happen.
Mm,
Um, because like George said, this is the quintessential slow burn,
mm,
but it's not boring.
mm.
It is at every single moment, every single turn, gripping,
Yeah.
and it is heart-wrenching, and it's a devastating film.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows how I think the quote that I saw was the third act. I mean, granted, the whole film, but I think they were specifically talking about the third act shows the full depravity of the human spirit or the human like,
Wow.
and like that is just such a perfect way of encapsulating
Oh,
this film
true.
Mm,
because it's not just that we're seeing people get murdered. It's not just that we're seeing Osage people get murdered. It's the way it's done. It's the way
mm,
it's portrayed, not only on camera, but it's what we don't see. It's what we don't hear, and it's
mm.
what it's us filling in the gaps with everything that could be as bad as we think it is, and then it's so much worse.
Yeah.
This is like the
It's like
worst possible thing that we could be seeing happen to a group of people. And then to have people like Ernest and Hale go back and talk about it in the ways that they do is just it's horrific.
yeah. Again, it's why I compared the film to Schindler's List in my opinion. Like again, it's weird making the comparison kind of, but I do feel it's warranted in like how the like I feel like this film also goes into like in great detail like all of the ways in which like the humanity of the Osage is like undermined and like the prejudices and like legal burdens put on them so that like a group could just come in and just start murdering members and it's like not investigated at all for years and I feel like that's in some ways that's the best argument for it being at like so long and I think it was worth it but it's like it gets across the idea of how long it just went on without like 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 any like anything actually being done because half the people involved wanted it to be done that scene where all like the like incredibly powerful people are just standing in front of Ernest and it's like you want to say about how they beat you so that we can keep doing this right it's like it's a it's a whole thing yeah
Let's talk about that moment real quick because I think Brendan Fraser should give back his Oscar after the performance that he gave in this film.
that is
As
unfair.
as great as he was in The Whale, he was hamming it up in this film to a degree that it was distracting. And I was
What I
glad when
would
he
say
wasn't on screen.
what I would say is
I think it's actually great.
I think that fits for like a 1900s like lawyer type
Yeah,
who's trying to like get all the attention. Like it's
I,
like
I frankly think it's a perfect performance from him. Like, I don't know why you dislike it so much. I mean, he's older.
It was so unnecessarily over the top for
No,
an understated
I
film.
don't think so, because the whole idea is that they have all the power here and that they're so used to having all the power there because you're not dealing with the Bureau of Investigation. This is, a guy that has clearly represented King Hale
Mm.
before. And the way that he talks is like, I would like to talk with my client.
My client and I have not had a chance to
He's
communicate.
not even listening to anybody else, and he gets his wish.
Because I mean, this is the advent of the FBI. Like now, I mean, it could happen, but it's less likely to happen now because we know the power of the FBI and what they can do now. They didn't have that power then. And just thinking about it within the context of George is gone, um, thinking about the context
I was
of
hiding from my webcam FBI guy.
um, with Hale being the king of the Osage Hills, I think is what
Yeah.
his nickname is.
Mm-hmm.
The power and influence that he has over that community, right? It's more influential than a federal bureau.
Yeah,
Even though it's a new one, he's more powerful, more influential, has more sway over the people in that community than the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
and I think it's
Yeah.
more just like it has it's not the Federal Bureau, it's just the Bureau
The
right now.
bureau, yeah.
And
Yeah, but to be
he's
fair, the name drop of J. Edgar Hoover felt as forced as the name drop of JFK and
I
Oppenheimer.
said the exact same thing. I was
That is
which
fair.
one was better?
I don't mind it,
I thought it was funny.
Are we making like a 20th century cinematic universe
Mm.
spearheaded by
We've got three
Christopher
of
Nolan
them.
and Martin Scorsese?
But
Matthew Vaughn
I
did
don't want
it
to
in
hear
the
it from you,
In the
Mr.
Kingsman.
Marvel.
That's right. Matthew Vaughn did do it in The
We got
Kingsman.
we got three. So we got one villain.
Mm.
Well, two villains, depending on how you look at J. Edgar Hoover.
We've
Three,
got
depending on how
Hitler,
you look
Hoover,
at
and
Kennedy.
JFK. That sounds like a dream Declan had once.
That I resent that because it's accurate. That's an accurate assumption of me.
All right, learning new things about Declan.
But all I was going to say before you you
Can I
ripped
like
on.
get my lighting right here? I don't know what I did, but it's like, is that
It's better.
good? That's good. All right.
When you're talking about King being more powerful than the feds, they talk to King and he's like, "Hey, King, there's some federal agents that want to, that are on your land or whatever, want to talk to you." He's like, "Oh, well, this is Indian land, so they got no power here."
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh my God, I gave a single fuck.
Yeah.
And you get the sense he's been there for a long time, so
Yeah.
Now let me go burn my barn. Like let me go burn my farmland now, so
Oh,
I can get
yeah.
the insurance money. It's like this is so brazen. Like
so
it's not like
completely.
this is not some like conspiracy that's trying to be hidden. This is like out in the open, like crazy, crazy violence. And
You see,
just
even aside from the violence, you have everybody there. I mean, pretty much if you're not Osage and you're on that land, you're there trying to make money.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's all these like white guys coming up with their cars and probably charging exorbitant prices. And there's that moment where Ernest's getting the coffin.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, when they just casually like
what do
these
you
are
mean
Osage
they're
prices.
Osage prices?
And when he then literally says like I earn my money, unlike these people, it's like wait, you're trying to like it's like literally you would never like hear anyone at that time say that about any white person whatsoever. But somehow the Osage are the like.
I don't know that that's true. If you're like a really famous rich person or like royalty, they'd probably act the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
But they couldn't get away with it. That's the thing. It's like the Osage are new to money. They had just gotten rich overnight. And so they're paying tons of stuff because they have tons of wealth that they don't know what to do with. And they have no idea how much things cost. They just trust people around them to tell them the truth.
Like the car salesman.
Yeah, the car
You
salesman.
run out of gas, you bust a tire, just come get a new car.
Yeah, just
Don't fill it up with gas because that doesn't make any sense. Just buy a new car.
Yeah, yeah.
come right back to me, okay? We'll get you a new car.
It was
All
interesting
right.
that moment when like Molly was talking with her sisters about Ernest, and it's like I don't know. I feel like he's not good. He's not a good person. It's like yeah, probably, but like he's handsome, so like I I think I'm just gonna go with like she's like he's kind of good looking. I'll just I know like literally everyone else here is trying to get my money. I'll go with him. You know.
On the subject of Molly,
Mm,
can we give some love and appreciation to the performance by Lily Gladstone here?
mhm.
Didn't you already do that? You said
I
she was gonna win.
did, but I want to hear you guys do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was really good.
And the thing
Everyone was really
like the only thing I disagree with you, George, is that I would she be going for supporting actress or just straight up actress? That's what I'm
active,
wondering.
I think.
I think it's a matter of screen time, and I just don't know if she reached the screen time.
Mm,
She could very well go for Best Actress, and she would walk
yeah,
to that. She's incredible.
yeah,
For
yeah.
sure.
I think again, it's like I mean, it's like it's a great. It's like finding someone who could like portray this character like who's suddenly like not suddenly like you know shifted from like could have been someone like in like very much on the side in the original script to like one of the three main
She is the emotional weight of the
characters.
film.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like and like and going through so much it's like it's painful. It's like you're happy to see her get through it at the end, but it's like so pain. Yeah, she goes through a ton of shit in this film, you know, with all the like you know the her family and stuff, and yeah, she does phenomenal.
Yeah,
Like you know,
it's no easy. I said this in my Letterboxd review. It's no easy task, presumably. I've never done it,
mm,
to act opposite DiCaprio and De Niro under the direction of Scorsese, and yet she gives the best performance in the film
yeah,
Yeah, she said she was intimidated the first few
for good reason.
yeah.
That's a valid thing to feel. Yeah.
uh,
I
And then
I
I'm
she
not
think it
gonna
goes
was
lie.
in.
like
I would feel intimidated in my first couple scenes.
yeah, I think Leo did a good job just making sure she felt welcome. I'm sure Marty
Mhm.
did too. So it's I mean it's a good place to have your sort of breakout role.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
there's tons of like, big roles you can get that would probably be much more stressful.
Mhm. True.
You've got literally like one of the best directors of all time, the best actors of all time, with two of the best actors of all time.
Mhm.
Just
Uh,
there with you. That's nice.
that'd be a pretty cool
Yeah.
place to like make your big break. What has Lily Gladstone done prior
Here's
to
the
this?
I
thing
think
that with
her
you.
biggest role was probably First Cow,
I don't think I know that one. What is that?
which I have not seen.
Like
Um,
art film.
Certain Women, I'm on her letterbox page right now. Certain Women,
Mhm.
Buster's Malheart, Fancy Dance, The Unknown Country, Walking Out. Like Killers of the Flower Moon is the only film of hers that I've seen.
If
It's like she's
She's
more known for her
tremendous.
TV shows.
mm,
Like I recognize more of the TV show names.
Oh, she
yeah.
was in Billions and
Oh,
Reservation Dogs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Reservation Dogs. I've heard good things about that show, but I haven't seen it yet. Mhm.
but yeah, it's not like she's anywhere close to a household name
Mm.
cast. So
I wonder if she was on Longmire. That's a show I like. That's a great show. If
I don't think
you
she was. I didn't see it on her.
yeah
So.
yeah if you like stories about modern day interactions between Native Americans and white people, check out Longmire. That's my recommendation. Good show.
well, I also want to give some appreciation to another actress in this film,
Mm.
Ellie the Owl.
Mm. Mm. Elle does a great job. I didn't
Yeah,
know Owl
great.
sounded like that. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, they could have CGI'd in an owl. They got a real owl to do all that work. And
All that work, it was 2 shots.
she's not even a year old. What were you
Yeah.
doing a
It
year
Oh my
it
old?
god.
probably totaled like, I don't know, 50 frames that
Yeah,
owl was
I
on screen.
remember every goddamn frame,
I,
George.
I have to agree with Ben here. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
You're outvoted.
yeah.
Matt,
Yeah, I'm siding with the majority here. Fuck you,
Hell
George.
yeah.
All right, withdrawn. The owl was great.
Yeah.
but
So,
yeah, I feel like everyone's great. So
Mm.
go on.
would Killers of the Flower Moon fall in a top three for any of you of Martin Scorsese's films?
Yes, for me, but I also haven't seen that many of his films.
Mhm.
I'm derelict in that, so
I
I
think I'm gonna say no, but I'm kind of like it is like I've only just seen it, so it's hard to fully gauge it between his other films. But I am still gonna say no, but it's early.
I yeah, I'd have to sort of agree with Declan in that I've just only seen it once, and plenty of films I like, the second time more, or third time.
Mm.
Um, but I've seen a lot of Martin Scorsese films like a ton of times, so it'd be hard to like not have him in my top, three of what we're doing.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's probably too early to say for me as well.
Mm.
And we've ranked Marty on this pod twice now. You can see that on our first ever episode. You can also see that on our Goodfellas review, which we did the week before Oscars 2022,
Mm.
because Goodfellas was horribly snubbed at the Academy Awards in its year.
Didn't win.
Any more thoughts on Killers of the Flower Moon, gentlemen?
go see it in
Yeah.
theaters. You'll get the full impact of some of the way that the film is shot.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it's a big blockbuster that you need to be like
Yeah.
middle, but it is, I think, far more impactful to go see it on the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think most films are, but this one, just because we're talking about it, go see it on the big screen.
Yeah. Agree with that.
Yeah, I got nothing left to say. It's gonna rival Oppenheimer for the number of awards that it gets nominated for.
No, I could see this year for Best Picture, like without thinking about it at all. I could see like Oppenheimer and Killers being like the two like big ones, like
Yeah,
going at it.
and I'm sure something that gets released in the next couple of months will surprise us and hop into that discussion as well.
The Marvels, yep.
I feel like there's a lot of things. Like Napoleon's coming out.
Oh,
Yeah,
true.
Napoleon,
That will be
Maestro.
Napoleon will be the moment that cinema returns, like as a no. I mean, then this is the return. The Killers of the Flower Moon is a return of cinema. I
No,
can't. I can't
Mission
So,
Impossible.
Wonka.
final question as we get excited for Ben to talk about Wonka in a few weeks.
Yes.
Um,
Wait, are we? Oh, we are doing it.
No, we have to
um,
do it because it'll be funny. If we're doing Aquaman, we have to do Wonka. There's no way that Wonka is
of
going to be worse
course,
than
we're
Aquaman.
doing both. Come
No
on.
way. There's no way.
Right.
I just
Um,
don't believe it.
Only if
Ben will
you watch.
schedule vacations for those weeks.
Only if you watch James Wan's Saw.
What?
James Wan, the director of Aquaman. You have to watch Saw.
Oh right, yeah, of course he
Oh,
directed
yeah, I've seen that.
that.
Yeah. No, I'm telling George.
Oh,
All right,
should also watch The
fine.
Conjuring, George. You'd like that
Oh
one.
yeah.
Okay. So one new thing I'd like to try here in season 3 is sort of stemming out of that Oscars discussion just now briefly. Killers of the Flower of the Moon is a hell of a first film to ask this question for the first time. But I'm going to ask this, and I hope when you guys host episodes, you ask this question too. You can give this film one Academy Award. What is it?
I'm gonna say best director, best director because Marty deserves more of those awards, and I think also it's earned for this film.
Hmm. I mean, this is tough.
That
Like,
is tough.
are we
Oh,
thinking
but wait, but that means that Lily Gladstone. Oh God, sorry.
It's
I
a
just
tough question. It's designed to be a tough question.
mm. I'm realizing now. I'm sticking with my answer because I made it, but like I'm realizing now. Wait, oh shit, I can't
You
just
were
say it. Like
right on it.
yeah.
best editing?
mm.
Mm.
That's a good answer.
Has
Um,
Thelma Schumacher? She's won for before, right?
I don't
Right.
think she has.
Oh man, if she has it, that would just be like ridiculous. Like
Yeah, there's a player in the NFL named Schoonmaker. Every time he related, I think he's just literally like SCOO. She
mm.
C.
Are you talking about Luke Schoonmaker, the tight end for the Cowboys?
Yeah.
I met him once.
Schoonmaker.
He went to high school in Connecticut,
Oh
and
wow,
we had him on. We interviewed him for sports at the station I work at.
that's
nice.
Went to
cool.
Michigan, played under Harbaugh, wanted to be a Niner, but ended up with the Cowboys. Anyway,
Brutal.
next,
Uh, best adapted screenplay.
mm.
these are some good answers. I already said my piece on Lily Gladstone.
Uh,
Yeah, either actress or supporting actress, whatever category she ends up in, that's the
mm.
one that I would give.
Yeah, yeah, that's valid.
All right. Welcome to season 3, guys. This is going to be a hell of a year. Killers of the Flower Moon is currently playing in movie theaters. Definitely go see it in a movie theater in as
Mm.
large a format as you possibly can. It is a spectacle. It is a slow ass burn.
It will make Martin Scorsese happy, and he's a friend of the podcast, so we support our friends.
I love you, Marty.
Mm.
Marty's the best. We
mm.
love talking about Marty here. So yeah, go see it. Check it out. Give an afternoon or evening to it. It's worth it.
Mm.
Um, enjoy Killers of the Flower Moon. We'll be back next week to talk about Totally Killer. We're going horror comedy for the spooky season.
I'm excited.
Shift in
Enjoy.
tone.
All right. Welcome to season 3. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.